Aeril. As such, each creed presents different answers to that most eternal question. The Triarchy teaches that the departed enter upon Dios' twilight halls under the earth, while the Navrians believe Lady Emravid carries them to an isle far away. The tribes of Harat say it's a veil at the world's edge, only reachable by the pure of heart. The Thesians agree with the Triarchy, only deny that it is Dios who holds court over the dead. Some, like those of Iram's Good Shepherd, instead claim the dead rejoin with their god and smile as the self is burned away. Mayhaps each is right in turn, or reflects a deeper truth diverged by memory. From Phineas the Younger's Creeds of the Known World, Book 1, Chapter 17. In a world of darkness, the flame was Aeril's guide. Bright as gold, its talons clawed at the swollen dark, the howl only muzzled when it reached the chasm where Aeril's right eye should have been. "I must not let the flame go out," he murmured, clutching the shepherd's crook against his heart. Amidst the cries of wind and wolf, to his sore rib, his stiff wrist, his head, the fire was life. It was warmth, health, the past and the future, community, purpose, justice, egg in hand. I may never see him again. The crook nudged the void over his heart. If I stay. How many days it had been? 20? 30? 30. Aeril confirmed with a glance to the red moon overhead, or close enough to make no difference. 30 days since my harrowing, since my fall. The memories were clear, then a jumble. A whirlwind of thought and desire, whispers atop the deep dark sea, only to break upon the cliffs of eternity. Easy now. Looking over him was a woman barely old enough to be his mother, eyes full of concern. He was on his back. It was day, and he was in a cottage. Hush. The woman put a finger to his cracked lips. You've had quite the fall. Do you remember? Remember. From the void it returned. The fall, the coming to, his arm, his broken body, the prince's laugh from on high, the cave, the well, the waters, the elder with the familiar voice, blood on his hands, the goddess beneath the silver moon. He nodded. The words were sand. Am I dead? A voice interposed. To his left sat another, maybe 35, hair braided, and with a bundled stone over her lap. She was knitting. No, not quite, but you were being an awful flirt, especially with that eye of yours. My eye? That memory was the next to return. Fingers, burned and scabbed, reached for his heart only to grasp nothing. He exclaimed, then went quiet, as that too re-emerged. Edmund! He shuddered in small fury. A trained healer's work, no doubt about it. The knitting woman replied. How did it happen? Mercy, the boy's just woke, the first woman exclaimed. Give him a moment. Mercy sighed and put down her knitting. As you wish, pity. Then the pain too returned. He grimaced as it rang out like the chimes of the great temple of Fair Calais. Here, take this. Pity handed him a wooden bowl. The water was warm, smelling of dried sage and barley. Against his lips it seemed almost right, what he would have chosen in lieu of poppy or willow. We found you 4 days ago. She grabbed a nearby broom. Well, one of the flock did. Must have been fate. Led us right to you, he did. Broke wrist, twist ankle, and hurt on the inside too. We weren't sure you were coming or going until last night. You saved me, he murmured as pity began to sweep the packed earth floor. That we did. Mercy again took up her knitting. And your horse. My horse? His eye went wide. Wait, if that's east, no, south, south. I need to go south. He tried to rise, only for the pain to slap him back down. You're not going anywhere in that condition, Pity laughed. What's in the south? Fair Calais, he coughed. My enemy. Well, Fair Calais can wait, Pity smiled. You need to rest. Tell to me, child, Mercy then asked from across the cottage. What do they call you?" He had paused for a long while, unsure of what to say, until the memory faded beneath the sound of yellow flames. "Aeril." The flames crackled in Eganhand's voice. "So you called yourself Aeril." "Called," he corrected. "I called myself Aeril." "Called." The winds howled between the trees. "Deceiver!" "No!" Aeril clenched his crook. "I didn't deceive. They needed a name, and I gave it." "You deceived her," the fire crackled again, "as you deceive yourself." "A daughter she will be," the wind cackled, "a bearer of your curse." "No," Aeril muttered. "What daughter? What curse? Who are you? Answer me!" And yet the fire was silent. The memory of Eganhand departed. Aeril sighed. Closing his eye, the world again became a void, punctuated only by dancing echoes of flame. In the dark he felt for his necklace, his purpose, only to find it missing. He didn't take it. Although the memory eluded him, the rest was clear. "I lost it. Fairly, my greatest treasure, and I destroyed her." "A worthless excuse," the wind sneered. "Betrayer, you were promised the world, the peace of the gods, and yet you squandered it, squandered your training here amongst the sheep." The howl of wolves pulled Aeril from the void. He could not sleep, could not let the fire die, not on this night when they were counting on him. What would he think of this? Aeril's eyes stared into the lonely flames, of me and the sheep. He knew the answer, but when exactly Eganhand had said it, he couldn't remember. Slowly the words reached out to him, on a tide of... He sat over a sea of off-white, speckled with shots of grey in the afternoon sun. Around them sailed a guardian in raven black, on oars of fur and padded bone. Am I dead? He eyed the creature as it ran. And this, that dream? Does he ever get tired? He turned to Mercy in pity, sat on the next rock over. Turning hurt, but not nearly as much as when he had woken a few days earlier. "Ruberos?" Mercy lifted her head from Pity's lap. "He's old, so yes, but never for long." Or, Pity smirked as she stroked Mercy's hair. "As your father called him, Naruthros!" The two's laugh was a joyful innocence. "Naruthros," he murmured. Far above and east, his eye found that precipice where he had walked, where he had fell. "Mean anything to you, noble boy?" Pity teased. Mercy sighed. "Dear, give Aeril a break." "No, it's all right," he lied. "And my father was only a knight, not a noble." "And yet you speak like one," Pity smiled. "That's not my fault." He looked over his shoulder. "The name, it means Red Maw. Where did you get him?" "When we met," Mercy sighed. "We each had a dog and they did as dogs want." She gazed up at Pity. "You should have seen the look on my father's face. His purebred and your... whatever it was." "And how did that happen?" "As you'd expect. A shepherd's daughter, a wool merchant's... whatever. It was years ago. 10 and 4, maybe 10 and 5. She stroked Pity's face. "One day she came to town and... I just knew." He didn't approve, though. His eyes again found the precipice. They rarely do. "No, Pity kissed Mercy's fingers. "We ran, isn't that right?" For once, Mercy smiled. "What happened then? I may not look it." The smile fell from Mercy's lips. "But I was born Detian." Instinctively, he reached for his amulet. "Go on." "Mercer, I was named." She twirled a finger through her hair. "Raised by an up-and-coming merchant and his sickly wife. She died. He remarried. Some young thing. And so I got a brother, 10 and 5 my younger. Then they cinched my neck and clipped my name. And here I am." "You were betrothed," he murmured. "We eloped, and yet you kept your name." Mercy was silent for a time. "I am who I am," she said finally. "And your father?" "He died," she shrugged. "Eventually." He looked back at the precipice. "And what about you? Your parents?" "Them?" Pity laughed. "Nothing. Love is love, they said. And besides, another set of hands never hurts. I had a brother, you see. They were thoughts of him and..." "I offered to," Mercy interjected. "But I, like my mother, was weak." Then came the Tetramachi. He went off, for glory, for Kaiso. Kaiso, he murmured. A bold thing to say. Who's listening? Mercy retorted. Kaiso, even if he was a fraud, especially if he was one of us. And let Tychon Otho know, no matter how many silks and mournful crowns he wears, he has no more right than the rest. Silence passed between them. He never returned, she finally admitted. Merrick, his name was. And your parents? A couple years ago, Biddy murmured. Illness, you know how it is. I do, he nodded. No, not my sister. My mother. I'm sorry. Don't be, Biddy replied. This way, we get to live only for each other. Even if it's hard, tending to the sheep and all that. They need us, Mercy snorted. They yearn for a shepherd. Deep down, they must know they couldn't exist without us. Not with the wolves. The fire crackled in Eganhan's voice. For there are 3, and only 3. There are sheep, there are wolves, and there are well-dressed wolves, which we call shepherds. The sheep know nothing but obedience to their stomachs and masters, the wolves to their stomachs alone. Only the shepherds possess the sense, the thought, to find a tomorrow and drag it forth. The rest are animals. Animals, the wind echoed. Animals, Aeril thought. They're right. The sheep only exist because we made them. They never could have come about on their own. And now that they're here, they need us to survive. Yes, the wind whispered. That is the way of things. They yearn for a shepherd, and as such it is the right of the shepherd to choose which to shear and which to slaughter. The fire hissed, and suddenly Aeril felt a presence lurking in the void beyond its light. And as with beasts, its whisper was half thunderclap, so too with men. The shepherd must rule, and today his crook must be iron. If he is too soft, he will lose his flock to the wolves or to another. No. Aeril suddenly found himself arguing with it. You're wrong. We're not animals. If the sheep are only animals, it was suddenly behind him, the Lord of Blackbirds, massive and monstrous. Then why not let the fire go out, like you let the rest? I did not let them out, Aeril hissed. I'm just waiting until I've healed. You could have left days ago, the Lord of Blackbirds whispered. But instead you persist here, with the sheep, while the false shepherd gloats. You let that fire go out, like you did the rest. No! Aeril's hand found the empty space over his heart. I didn't. Get out! Get out of my head! I'll go there and I'll kill him! Happy? Tell that to your ancestral throne, your medallion, your loves. The novice, the betrothed, the one you met beneath the moons. The thing leaned in, so close Aeril could practically feel its breath in the void beyond his left eye. You do not even remember her face. And even if I don't, Aeril stopped himself from turning before it was too late, before it had him. I remember his face. That's all I need. Once I'm strong enough, I will go south, and I will have my justice. Stronger how? The Lord whispered. With whose power, now that everything else has been stripped away? Are you sure your father was a knight? He looked up from the garden, at a cloudless sky, half blue and half void. I should be able to see all of it. Far above, he could make out the place where he had fallen, where he needed to return. His hand found the empty spot over his heart. Why do you ask? Because. Mercy sat knitting within the cottage shade, a wrapped stone laid across her lap. You tend plants as one born to it. She was right. Before him were stalks and trellises, vegetables and herbs in their rows, harvested by his hand and his alone. They were small, underfed by a season lacking rain, but they would be enough. For 2, at least. I thought you were going to help me. Mercy readjusted the stone. Do I look like I'm in any condition to help? What about Pity? She was somewhere else, deeper in the cottage. Old memories. Not quite chthonic woe, but still bad, she winced. But tell to me, how did you know the right ways to harvest? I don't recall her instructing you much at all. I did what felt right, he admitted. My father, he was a leader of men and taught me how to lead myself as I would others. And despite that, the rebuke rang out in his mind. When I said a lord's power comes from the land, he would have chided, I did not mean rooting around with the crops and herd animals. Power does not come from blades of grass, no more than shafts of wheat or heads of cattle. No, a lord's power comes from the blood of his people and their connection to the land. The health of the land is the health of the Lord, and the health of the Lord is that of the land. To rule wisely, to maintain this balance, that is justice. And yet, to him the words felt wrong. And how would you lead others? Pity's interjection struck him from his thoughts. In your mind, that is. Righteously, he asserted. I would tell them to uphold the peace of the gods, to seek justice, and to do what they must. What they must? Pity leaned against the doorway. That doesn't sound awfully straightforward. That, Mercy added, needles clacking, and the peace of the gods isn't as certain either. What makes you say that? He scowled. Because, she paused in her needlework, how can the gods have their peace if each isn't given their due? The peace of the gods, he replied mechanically, need not be pursued in their temples. But who said anything about temples? What my dear is trying to say, Pity cut in, is that out here, people have different needs. And when the temple's gods won't have you, others may answer. He was silent for a time. Go on. The shepherd's life. Pity walked through the doorway and back. It's all about cycles. Birth, death, winter, summer, shear, grow, shear again. When you really think about it, can one really count on Davitia for something so ancient? No. He feigned ignorance at first. I'd say even All-Mother Cabera wouldn't be up to it. I wouldn't either, Pity nodded. Amongst us shepherds, some of us tell of another god, one who shared a womb with Dios Cabera and that abhorred prince of beasts when the world first emerged from chaos. But whereas the others came about whole, one was made from the trimmings, the scraps, and as such upholds the eternal rhythms better than any other. Myri the Gentle. He let the words hang. You know that legend? Mercy questioned. The rooks know of many and strange things. The words were cynical. Such circumstance happens naturally, when it's one's wont to gather all the world's knowledge and lay it before a god. Yes, I know of the moon and Myri, even if it's the visage of the temple would scourge, the queen of corpses and dead god of decay. And would you scourge the shepherd? Pity replied. If he would ask her for easy births and a steady harvest. He thought of Eggenhand on his horse, staring down at him. I make no such judgments. So you admit then you're a rook? Was, Aeril confessed. Nearly, I left, only to find myself watched even then. He led me south and east until I fell. A full wheel of the alabaster moon ago. When I fell, he held his tongue. Where were you headed? Pity asked. The Weeping Tower, he replied. I was told to go there. Don't! Mercy said abruptly. The place is haunted by the spirits of Mal-Ur. That name gave Aeril pause. Even to the least devout, the Lord of Chain's name was anathema, a demonic moonen whose domain was death, the cold, suffering, and the stasis of eternity. By one legend among many, it was he, the firstborn of Noctira, who had polluted the Isle of the Dead with his essence, such that any who drank its waters could never leave. According to the rooks, this defilement then spread, giving the seas their salty taste and forever changing the order of the world. So do you know the way? Yes, but you should not go. Mercy grimaced. Would you stay here, with us, even for another moon? And so you persist. The Lord of Blackbirds sneered, its wings of darkness hovering just beyond the reaches of Aeril's vision. As one already dead. No! Aeril stared into the flames so bright as to blind. I stayed because they needed me, to watch their flock. Or did you forget that part? The day after, Mercy had been sick in bed, clutching her abdomen. On his license, they had taken his horse and ridden to town for the needed medicine. This happens every so often, Pity had admitted. Would you watch the sheep while we're away? It is you who forgets, the Lord of Blackbirds croaked. You who cherishes sleep while your betrayer yet lives. Why do you care? Aeril snapped. You're nothing, just some illusion for my dreams. Dreams where you live the memories of your grandsire. The retort caught in Aeril's throat. Despite its haunt, it spoke true. The dreams, the visions which had haunted him since his return, they were too detailed, too visceral to be anything but. Far beyond the fire, a wolf cried, only to be cut short by the brightening sky. Dawn was coming. What are you? He asked the dark. Purpose, the thing whispered. Your hidden fire, your secret strength, with you always, since you first wandered from the light. Then why? Aeril's hand again found the empty place against his heart. Lord of Blackbirds, if that indeed be your name, why have you remained silent until now? Could not listen, but now open ears match a willing heart. A heart that hungers, even as you sit here watching your dreams die. Will you fly towards your purpose, or will you starve, rot, amongst the sheep? Egg in hand! Aeril's eye went wide. You hunger for truth, for power, the Lord of Blackbirds croaked. And I, the words found his lips, cannot live on bread alone. Neither can the shepherd, can the lion, and when the lion hungers, the lion eats. When dawn broke, Aeril knew what he had to do. Edmund could wait. Mercy and Pity found him atop a large rock, looking over the flock like the kingdoms of the world. The silence said all that was needed. When will you return? Pity finally asked. I know not. Aeril looked east, to the white hills, and that place far above. Likely never. Then go, if you must, Mercy winced, a hand on her stomach. We ask only for one thing in turn. Tell it to me. Mercy's gaze met his, pained, and yet still. Remember us. He and his horse were in the mountains by day's end, amidst the chatter of owls and forest folk, lorded over by pines and cypress. Aeril ate stale bread, nuts, and dried mutton. This time, though, the Lord of Blackbirds did not return. Shy Estelle, too, was coy with him, and when he finally found her abed, it was not the sweet peace that tastes of her sister's kindness. Instead, he found himself on another horse, in a different forest. There was battle, for in the air steel sang against steel. One came at him after another, and each he cut down in turn, watching the blood of his enemies mingle with the ruddy marks tattooed across their bodies. A horn then bellowed, guttural and deep. He raced forward, only for the spear to hit his horse instead. He fell onto the blood-soaked soil, bringing himself up just in time to parry the axe of another barbarian. When that one too fell, he went on to the next, then again, until he found the commanders locked in single combat. One wielded a short sword, the reworked orichalcum dark green in the forest light. The other held a whip, or rather, a curled sword wielded as one. Wherever its dance landed, sparks flew, the swordsman's training useless against such a foe. When he fell to a knee, he braced, only to find a sword in his enemy's chest. You saved my life! The commander took his hand. Castor Marula. Before he could reply, the dream shattered beneath the light of dawn. Aeril found himself awake, somewhere else, a name on his lips. Auril Argent. The Lord of Blackbirds was right. When he mounted his horse that morning, he found the task easier, as if he hadn't spent the past turn of the red moon tending to sheep and vegetables, and yet easy limbs were balanced by an uneasy mind. Auril Argent, his grandsire, was in him. But my grandsire died long ago, Aeril thought as he rode. What does that make me? A necromancer, speaker to the dead? But how could I, unknowingly? Or did I lose more than my amulet when I... That's not even how it happened. The dreams began before, if I may even call them that. Does my grandsire then live, but inside my mind? If he's there, then what of me? Where am I? Sharing a space with him, or... Round and round went the maelstrom of thoughts until Aeril hit the storm's eye. Before him was a ruin, frozen in time, the same moss-toppled walls, the same god without a face. He could see them even now, leaned against the stones, the memories of him and his new lord. Aeril found the place where he had sat and closed his eye, as if upon opening it, who'd find all that was lost restored in the past month naught but a dream. Sitting there, he began to weep. How long he wept for, Aeril did not know, only that it was midday when he ceased. Wordless, he remounted his horse and began anew. This time his thoughts were calm, as was he when half an hour later the trees again thinned and he found himself there where his world had changed, where he had fallen. This time, however, he was alone. No egg in hand, no old man of the mountain, just him, what remained of the path, and his horse. Fearlessly, Aeril rode along the precipice, along the path made by another. That night passed, the same as the last, dreams of a life not quite his own. In the morning, beneath a clouded sky, he turned and found himself before his answer. It was a ruined tower built into the side of a cliff, its cavernous entrance turning the faintest breeze into a wail. The Weeping Tower. Almost 100 cubits tall, its surface was wobbling, hive-like. As he approached, Aeril realized why. Hundreds, if not thousands of niches had been built into its exterior, gazing over the haunted houses huddled around the tower's base. The half-collapsed walls and ceiling, the strange niches, the entire thing looked like a half-melted candle, only with rivulets of crumbling stone instead of wax. No, not houses, Aeril realized as he passed the empty square buildings. Treasuries. Sepulchres. Yet, as he looked up, Aeril realized the same could not be said for the tower, for in each of its niches remained a stone vessel, open to the elements. Standing beneath them, the wailing, jawless gates, a deep disquiet washed over him, along with the taste of blood in his mouth. The tower, the ruins, the walls, there was a strange familiarity to them. Had he been here before, or only dreamed of it, lived it, as another? Then he realized he wasn't alone. Behind the doorway, half hidden, was a woman, real and manifest as he. A woman with his sister's face. No, he corrected, not my sister. Kanta. Aeril gripped his head. What's happening to me? Kanta is your sister! Kanta! When he looked back, she was gone. Haunted indeed. His fingers shook as he tethered his pale gelding to a nearby tree. The Lord of Blackbird's my grandsire, and now this. I'm the haunted one. Or maybe I've simply gone mad. Or have I died and this is all the world to come? He entered the tower. That within matched that without, the walls still filled with thousands of niches. Only, where those outside held basins, these held statues weathered beyond recognition. Besides them, the tower was empty save for a staircase leading below, one far too similar to another he knew well. Below, far below, was no chasm, only a dimly lit grotto where the ancient masonry met natural stone, if it could be called that. It was smooth, undulating, and all too similar to human limbs. In the dim light, it seemed to Aeril the cavern's walls were comprised of thousands and thousands of people, tangled together and then turned to black volcanic stone. Here and there protrusions would jut from the rippling walls, a knee, an arm, a head. When Aeril found one with 5 fingers still attached, there could be no doubt. Their bodies, he shuddered, frozen bodies. There the stone bodies rose up, then coiled into an arch. Beneath the arch was a tear in the world, one through which seeped the void. Though the light flowing down the stair provided dim enough luminance, the space under the arch devoured any that touched it, its perfect darkness marred only by a single golden speck near the edge of its surface. It was horrific, something that could not exist, and yet did. Mayhaps I indeed have died, Aeril thought as he stared into that impossible darkness. For what can this place be if not hell? And yet it was not, though that answer itself invited 1,000 questions. Who had built this place? If so, when and why? Was this anomaly, this artifact, placed within it? Or was the room itself built to answer? Would he die if he passed beneath the arch? Or would he simply go somewhere else? Was it a shrine? Or was it a tomb? Was it natural? The tower its seal? If so, how? How could nature ever create something like this? And if it did, were there others? The question ceased as Aeril spotted something, an imperfection against the raised platform of undulating stone. It was a glove of black silk, pointed at the archway and the abyss beneath it, egg in hand. When he held it, there was no doubt. "Go," it said. "Go into the dark. Do it." Something whispered inside his mind, though he knew not what. "This is what you wanted. You cannot go back. There is no other way." Breathing deep, Aeril passed into the dark.